Hello.
This is our ninth episode of You Are Where You Need to Be podcast. Welcome, everyone. We are going to talk about behind appearances, the complexity of self-expression.
Yeah, so today we thought that we are diving into something I think a lot of us feel but don't always put into words, like the difference between true self-expression, attention seeking, and how that line can get blurry, especially in the world that we live now. And we want to discover the topics of where does our style coming from, what make us drawn to certain clothes, colors, ways of showing up, and when does that shift from something that feels like us into something that's just trying to get a reaction. So we are going to talk about style, identity, validation, and how our self-expression evolves as we become more aligned with who we really are. And I wanted to ask you a question first about that. When was the moment in your life when you started to feel that you really found your true style, what is really you?
I have a question back to this because I feel that self-expression has different ways. So do you mean like clothing-wise, visually, style, or like my personality, what I prefer in music and so on? Or is it like characteristic values way self-expression?
Well, it's getting a little bit complicated if we are trying to talk about all of it, I think, as a first. So let's go with just clothing.
Okay.
And style, like appearance, so to say. Appearance is covering a lot of things already.
Well, I think it was sometime during high school, like my teenage years, potentially 16, 17, 18, but it wasn't fully developed because a lot of like other healings and other journey contributed eventually to that style or took away from that style. But before that, I remember I was just keep like experimenting visually, what I like, what I don't like. So yeah, I think that was then, and then that would reborn eventually over time again and again and reshape itself.
So at the moment, you're feeling like you're dressing up and you're styling yourself the way that really resembles who you are?
Sometimes, not always. It's challenging because like you can't have, I feel like there is a huge limitation on wardrobe size. And I do try and buy clothing that I really genuinely feel connected with, but I very often find that I don't definitely afford, and I may not found ways to find secondhand clothes. Sometimes I would find secondhand clothes that I was like, wow, I love this so much and this is so me and I would be so happy about it. But sometimes I find nicely designed clothes that are like upper class pricings and I'm like, oh, well, okay, then that's not this time. And I don't feel like I can always afford what I feel my style is, but I try within my budget to buy some like clothing that I really connect with and I feel comfortable about it. But I'm noticing that it's not always the piece of clothing. Like sometimes I would wear my favorite piece and I still don't feel pretty. I still feel like a tramp. And it just comes from within, the mental state and everything. So I can like something, but I don't definitely feel comfortable in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think it really depends on how you feel at that moment.
Yeah.
I also have, I think a pretty organized wardrobe already for all kind of occasions. And all the clothing I bought, I felt called to. So I really like all of them. But of course, it doesn't mean that at each occasion I'm feeling like wearing a certain piece and then feeling
Yeah.
comfortable in it. So it depends on where you are going, who you are meeting with, for how long you are going out. Because the thing is, and I'm sure I can talk in the name of a lot of women when I'm saying that even though sometimes I would like to be a bit more daring, if I know that I'm going out and I'm probably coming back alone, I just choose something else.
Yeah. It's so sad.
It is sad, but unfortunately, that's the world we live in, and we just want to be sure that we get back home safely and nothing happens on the
Yeah.
way. And unfortunately, not all of the pieces we would like to wear would guarantee us that we would feel safe and sound during the whole evening.
Yeah. I know that's really a shame because then you kind of have to press some kind of repressing onto your own self-expression. And I also noticed it just happened last weekend. I told you this story, but I'm going to share it here as well. Is you don't like very often people feel so uncomfortable with other people's self-expression, what they're not used to, and then they are going to make themselves heard. And sometimes it's an aggressive way, sometimes it's just verbal, but verbal is aggressive as well. It's with the glitter that I told you about. Is that I got so excited. I'm going to a concert and I wore some really I wouldn't even say daring outfit. It was a long skirt. It was tights and long sleeves and nothing showing. And I just put some glitters on my face and some very minimal eyelashes. And some gentleman decided to comment one of the kindest swear words in Polish. And I'm
We
like,
all know what it is.
yeah, I think the whole world knows that. So I'm like, wow, what's happening in some people that, and then I was just excited to use my glitters because I literally never use them. Or when I go out to a party, I forget about them. And this is what happens when you dare to express yourself. And that wasn't even as self-expressive as other people on the actual event where I went to. So I wonder what they must face sometimes. And by the way, I really loved everyone's looks. Like it was so creative and colorful. So it was really nice to see.
Yeah, but basically that's why you are going to such places, because it's a special event
Yeah.
and you try to dress up for the event. So you are just gathering your outfit based on that. And then you're just going out minding your own business and somebody just,
Yeah.
well,
Blah.
assaults you with words you were not seeing coming.
Yeah. And the problem with that is it did not affect me because now I finally came to understand that people have their own internal world and problems and issues and they're just projecting that onto me. But then other people would take that so personally and it would deeply hurt them. And then it used to happen to me. So this really affected my way of self-expressing because older women or random people would comment on how I would dress as a teenager or like a young teenager. And this makes people suppress their own personality and way of expressing to the point that you actually kind of forget about it or you don't feel comfortable. You are scared to actually wear pieces that you really like, which is a top. It's not even a big deal. Yeah.
Well, about that, for me, it was the other way around when I was a teenager, because before, always my mom chose my outfits because she really likes fashion and she really liked to dress us up. And she was always suggesting, well, even when we were older, I don't know, 13, 14 years old or what to wear. And I didn't really have a style on my own. And then when I went from elementary school to high school, I just completely went black. I started to wear these witchy clothes and the boots, and That gave me back in the day quite of an intimidating aura, so to say. So nobody really tried to get into a fight with me, and probably that's why I was doing it, because in elementary school I was bullied a lot, and I
Mm,
decided when I'm going to change schools, nobody's going to bully me, and for some reason I chose that. Probably because I was listening to a lot of metal music back in the day,
mm,
still today, but not that much. And I realized that, okay, those are the tough guys. So if I want to be tough too and not to be messed with, I'm going to start to wear those clothing.
mm,
And even though I'm looking back and I'm horrified how I dressed up, it still was a foundation of my style today.
mm,
So I still chose to go at the alternative way of dressing up, but in a more subtle way as I was growing older. And by that time, by now, I think I completely have my style and how I like to dress up, and it haven't changed in the past years. So I think it's
mm.
going to stay. And even I found a video today about myself randomly when I was looking for something you uploaded in Google Drive. And then there was a video about me from 2015.
Ah,
And I looked at it, I'm like, wow, okay, even then I was already dressing the way which I approve today. And I
mm,
like, so around that time or before it started.
mm,
And then I chose my colors, because even though I like a lot of colors for if I want to decorate, for example, I don't really like to wear them as well.
mhm,
So most of my clothing are nude colors, grays. I still have a lot of black clothes as well, earth tones, if that makes sense. And some of them are from my favorite colors. So I have one or two green dresses and some white, and I think maybe one or two purple.
yeah.
And it is so funny because I love green and purple, and even though I'm not choosing them as a style to wear on myself.
And why do you think that is?
Maybe because, okay, there are many shades of a color, right? So we can all find one which we would say can suit us. But the ones which I like, if I wear them, I disappear, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it doesn't work
You know,
with your hair and
with
skin
my
tone.
natural
Mm,
colors, yeah.
yeah,
And I learned also color theory back in the day when I was doing makeup. So I learned there as well what kind of colors suit me the best. And the
yeah.
problem is that from colors which would actually fit me, those are the pastel colors, and I
Mm.
don't like the pastel colors.
Ice cream.
Yeah, you know. I mean, it's cute and all, but to wear them,
Mhm,
I
mhm.
just can't. I just can't do that. And
Yeah.
how about you?
Oh, well, I remember that as a kid, I didn't really have a choice. It's the same, like moms dress their girls, I think. And plus, on top of that, my parents worked as entrepreneurs making children's clothes. So we would usually wear those, whatever they were making.
Mhm.
And they were more like cool looking. So not like little kids. I remember that I had like really cute pink and purple clothes when I was very little, but then eventually it turned into that. Plus I wore a lot of my brother's clothes, my older brothers. Like I would own a lot of his that he grew out. So I was like, yeah, it was that kind of family where shoes and everything. And eventually I learned to appreciate that because I felt very cool, very, like tomboy. And unfortunately, I was a bully as well at school. And yeah, that was that for like majority of elementary school. I think I did have a few girlish like tops and stuff, but as soon as I started to like develop as a woman, I would get all kinds of comments. And for a while, I didn't bother, but then as soon as I approached high school, it started to bother me. So I kind of took back from it. And I really loved all kinds of clothes like my parents. I'm really grateful for that they would back then at the time, like high school, they started to buy me clothes that I really liked. But it was black. My black phase started around when I was 12, I think, because
Ooh,
my brother also.
pretty early.
Yeah. I was kind of influenced by my brother. He's 3 years older. So he started it a bit earlier than when I started. So it was like maybe when he was 13 or something like that, or 14, maybe at 8th grade. And I looked up to him and I just found like people who dressed black very cool and like badass. I don't know what was about it, like intimidating. And I just wanted that too. So eventually I started to ask for black clothes, only black socks, blacks. My mom complained, it's like, you're going to pair your socks because I can't tell the difference between them. So yeah.
But it's really, if you think about it, okay, makes sense. But a lot of people choose that to toughen up the black color, to just show that they are intimidating and not to be messed with. And it's a bit unconscious, I think.
I thought it was conscious, but it was very unconscious. And I just recently started to uncover this for myself because I started to entertain the idea of what happened to pink. And do you know when this happened? When Barbie came out. And it reminded me of how much I used to love the Barbie pink as a kid. And I loved even in clothes and toys. And it reminds me, lately, these years, it started to remind me of my childhood, certain pink and purplish colors. I have been friends with purple for longer now, but pink is still just approaching back to me again. But then I thought about it and I had conversations about this with ChatGPT. I'm like, why is that I no longer liked, it used to be my favorite color. And then I ditched all the colors from the palette and it was only black. And at such early age. And then I would literally hate people who would wear, do you remember there was that phase back in Hungary that everyone wear like full top pink? Literally every shoes pink, trousers pink, top pink, everything pink, bags pink. Do you not remember that?
No. For some
And those
reason,
kind of
no.
people, another year they changed to full black. Like they used to have blonde hair and pink everything. And then they changed to black hair and black everything. You don't remember that? Okay, that's interesting.
No. Maybe I didn't pay attention, but please tell me because I'm curious.
Maybe I paid attention to that because pink color started to trigger me so much. And I just looked at it with full hatred, literally. And it's like, what was I such a childish thing? You know, like it's I don't like it. And I just couldn't accept that women would wear that willingly. And then I realized that much of my self-expression was very much limited as a child. From starting not being able to choose my own clothing as a little child, not being able to develop my own sense of self through that. I was wearing my brother's clothes, my brother's bike. I was like this. I'm very grateful for them. Like I really like them, but still that was the end result of that. And in many ways, I was never allowed to speak my mind. I was never allowed to express my emotions, and unless they were happy emotions, I was very much controlled as a child. I couldn't be free. And whenever I was myself, I would face some kind of punishment. And most probably, my little brain associated my sense of self as being a threat. Like, it's not safe. I cannot express myself. So liking certain things when I'm sharing, it results into some kind of conflict or punishment. So I wanted, probably it was a self-defense mechanism turning into something simple and also intimidating. Simple by meaning that I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to express any of my characteristics through look or shape or anything. At shape, I did try, but not colors. And I also felt very intimidating as well. So please stay away from me. Don't mock me. Don't hurt me. Don't do anything. And it was a way of reducing my sense of self, my character, to safer things, what was allowed to express, for example, hobbies, other ways, but not through my look, because that was always somehow commented on, or it was also connected with my verbal self-expression or my feelings. I don't know, like clothing can also express feelings, like different ways. If you're happier, if you are more sad, if you're going to a funeral and so on. So I think that could be the answer. I did not talk about this with a therapist, so this is not like carved in stone explanation, but to me it feels very logical. And since I started to reclaim my own self or rebuild my own personality, I am more comfortable with wearing different kind of colors, which today is not a perfect example for that. But it's once I finally started to accept myself and get rid of all kinds of fears, what might people gonna say or how I might gonna look, because I was always shamed for some kind of self-expression. Then finally I'm returning, and then pink, is coming back. I'm not gonna wear it because I'm the same. I've depends, because there is a strong pink, like visors pink. That can kind of work, but I could wear it as a bracelet, but not anyway. Or when I'm running for like cancer research, and then it works because everyone is pink.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand you. I'm completely the same. Even though I don't hate pink color anymore, because I also did. And I found it like a very girly color, which is exactly the point that, okay, what did I hate in myself, which expressed that I'm a woman, which drove me so far away from the pink. And then I realized that I wanted to be tough, and if you are playing tough, then you are going to get all the masculine traits around yourself, and pink is not really a masculine color. Even though I see guys wearing it, I'm not a fan of it. Probably because I'm not a fan of wearing it myself, so it's difficult for me to look at guys and just tell them that suits them. So it's coming from me. It has nothing to do with anything else. But I have the same, that even in accessories, I don't really choose it. Okay, I have a flask and that has pink. That's already something. And I like it on the flask. But I don't know if it will ever turn back for me into that way, so to say. Because I already have my color palette, which I like, and I experimented with, and I know what suits me. So I don't know what needs to happen for me to just...
I don't think you need to get back to where you were 5 and you were full pink or purple or something. I don't think you have to get back to this. It's about more like the healing journey, because you had to lock down that little child and shut it down into a place where you kind of ignored her and you became a more masculine, protective version. And just now we are uncovering, or at least me, I am uncovering my inner child, and I'm allowing her to participate in my life. And that's kind of that. Allowing pink back in my life is accepting there was a little girl who wasn't accepted back then. and she didn't feel safe. And now expressing through little things like this bracelet that is a bit pink, that's me showing to myself. It's not about other people, it's to myself that yes, this is her, and it warms my heart, and it's nice that I accept her, even if people didn't.
Yeah, but it's you who has to accept it. And you also brought up some important topic about colors in a way that if you ask somebody what are their favorite colors and why, many people know what their favorite colors are, but they don't know the reason behind it.
Yeah.
So I just would like you to re-explore what you think about that and what you said about that, because I think it was really important and it had a lot of truth in it.
Yeah, I mean, I have been noticing about myself as well since I've been like healing and thinking so much, who am I, how do I function, how everyone is functioning, is that I'm thinking back, and there were times when I just didn't know why I do the things. I didn't know why I liked things. I just knew that I like it. And I remember my latest situationship partner, let's call partner, he would tell me that his favorite color is the same as mine. And I would ask, I get curious, why? Because that's for me another way of getting to know the person. And I remember he would tell me, I don't know, I just like it. And I have experienced this with other people as well. And I forgot that I used to be like that as well. And at the time, I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, what? But I brushed it off. Yeah, he doesn't know it. Maybe he will know it. And that shows me now how much it shows about people that they are not diving into their own self. Like knowing the reason of why you like a certain thing, why you like pizza. I personally like pizza because it's comfort food for me. I like the flavor of it. It makes me happy. It reminds me of a childhood cartoon, the Ninja Turtles.
Yes, me too. I love the Ninja Turtles. I was drawing the pizzas on our floor when I was a kid.
Yeah. So. And I also adore Italians for making pizza, and I just love it. And there are many other emotional based aspects that I don't want to definitely go into. But for example, the color purple to me is another favorite color, which is funny because I still don't have enough clothings that way. But it's one of my favorite colors. It came into my life when around 20 years old, I went to a drawing school. I was trying to get into university and I was practicing. And I finally started to see colors differently. It all started in high school because that's when I started to go to drawing teacher. And she finally taught me that colors are awesome. and I started to appreciate them. But then that course was the first time when I decided to buy my first purple top. And I realized that I really love it. Was those it's not that cold, it's a bit warmish purple. And then I didn't know when, but then now I know that it reminds me of warm feelings, passion. And I know that usually also online people associate this color with that. But this is how I feel. And it's also my self-expression that I'm finding myself finally. So that's my way of connection to that color. And because blue used to be my ultimate, but that was my mom's favorite color as well. So I guess, and blue is generally a lot of people's favorite color because it's connected with nature, I think. But yeah, and then he couldn't tell me. And since then, I have seen so many examples where this person just didn't know why he is doing what he is doing. And a lot of people are just actually functioning in such an automated survival base in life that they don't know why they are doing. And it's the same with dating. people are just going and doing because their subconscious mind is telling them to do that. They like something, like they like the smile of a person, but they don't know why they like the smile of a person.
Can I just
Yeah.
tell you a fast example before I forget, because it's very recent, but it happened in the past a lot too. I don't know if you ever encountered it, that you had a conversation with a person and they expressed that they want to do some modification on their face. For example, they want to get a new
Yeah.
piercing, or they want to buy a certain type of cloth, and then they ask your opinion. And the moment you express a negative opinion, like you don't like it, they change their mind. And
Yeah.
I'm just I just cannot understand that, because if you really want something for yourself, for your own pleasure and satisfaction, doesn't matter who says what.
Yeah.
I just remembering when I wanted tunnels in my ears, and I started to have the progress. And I know that my boyfriend at the time really hated the idea. And of course, his opinion mattered to me because I really loved him, but it didn't matter that much that I let him to decide what I want to do with my body.
Yeah.
Because if I really want something, I will do it. And that's also connected to what you said, that people don't really know what they are doing and why, and they are actually dressing up and styling themselves for outside validation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it shows in such examples. Just I wanted to say it fast because I thought that I will forget it later.
Yeah, yeah, but that's the thing, is that I'm noticing that these people who actually don't know why they are doing things, why they are doing whatever they are doing, they don't know, and that contributes to them not like seeking external validation, because they don't know who they are. So someone has to tell them who they are. Otherwise, their existence is in question. And I used to be at that place as well. And this particular person that I just mentioned was like that as well. And it shocked me because seemingly he looked like he's got his style going on and everything. And then eventually he would keep asking me, like, if I like this and that and that. And I'm like, okay, well, I thought you're a bit more confident about yourself. And this like self-expression can come through different ways, also behavior way as well, because I used to question if the way I behave or my actions are right or correct. Like whenever I would have so many questions and I would seek external validation, please tell me, someone tell me what I'm doing is right or correct or not, that's always the meaning that that person doesn't know who they are. Let that be emotional based or this way, like in a relationship or style or any kind of hobbies or decision. And it's very sad because it shows me that so many seemingly adult people have no flipping clue who they are. And I was one of them not even long time ago. So, and then we keep going and asking and trying to fit into certain circles, which we actually don't even feel so comfortable about because we don't know who we are, but our body kind of tells that is something is wrong there.
Yeah, it's like the desire of belonging, and it
Yeah.
starts, I think, in early teenagehood when we just want to belong somewhere so badly. And in teenagehood, it goes kind of sideways sometimes, that we're trying to fit into places where we think that we are valued or validated. And we don't really look at the big picture of how the people there affect us, or what's the quality of the people there, if we are dragging each other up or pushing each other down. Because when you're a teenager, you are not thinking about such things, you just want to belong. And the thing is that many times people drag the teenagehood out to adulthood, and they still remain in those circles even though
Yeah.
they feel like they don't really fit in there.
Yeah.
And they cannot just decide that, okay, I'm standing up and I'm going in, and I know that it means I'm gonna lose some connections, but I don't belong here anymore.
Mm. I think that's the better part because that shows that this person has been growing and probably the others hasn't been. So for this person, that's a good thing, in my opinion, because I would rather say goodbye to people who I considered as my best friends in high school or even later in life than be at the same place. Because if we are like, it's very rare that two people are gonna grow together the same path along a lifetime. That's why friendships end. So I think that's the better case for probably both of them, because maybe the other person also gets some kind of lesson from it. Who knows? I'm always hoping for that.
Yeah, but that would be the best case scenario, but it's not always happening.
Yeah.
But it's the same case, I think, with music taste as well, because for some reason music taste is also very important to people to use it as a self-expression.
Mhm.
And back in the day, I remember that I got into this metalhead community where everybody was listening to this horrific death metal and black metal bands, which at the moment, if I listen to them, it's just noise to me. And yeah, I was listening to it to try to fit in. But what's interesting in my case that I couldn't really do this authentically for too long. So I always just bent into the path where I really felt like I enjoy, no matter what it was.
Mhm.
If it was about clothing, I didn't really let people to tell me what I should wear, how I should wear. I remember my father thought that the boots were just a phase, and for sure I'm going to change them soon for high heels, and still I don't have high heels, even though I was thinking about it lately to get one. But I will never be the high heels person because
Mm.
it's just not me. And the boots was not a phase.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. And the music taste too, because mine is so colorful that
Mm.
I don't really belong anywhere in that matter. I like so
Yeah.
many things and I listen to so many genres
Yeah.
that, and I'm proudly showing it off. Like I'm not ashamed or
That's good.
anything. So maybe that's why it's really hard to fit in, like basically anywhere, because people just find something which is in common with all of them. They just gather around that, and
Yeah.
that's how they build their identity.
I think with music, with music, people feel much safer to express themselves because they will always find their own gang with that. I don't think people can really fake liking certain type of music. I think that's so deep going in, but activities you can, social circles people can, I think, because you want to fit in, you want to belong, so let's behave in a certain way. Maybe that
Yeah.
way some kind of music can come along as well, but I don't think they would literally listen to it. It's just when they are there, they would say that they like it or something like that, just to fit in. But I can't imagine, who knows? Would love to jump into people's mind and see how they're expressing life, but I've never met anyone. They always felt genuine to me that the music they love is they really love. So
For me, no. I notice many times on people that it depends on the circumstances what kind of songs they are choosing to play. For example, if somebody has to play a song in front of other people and he or she wants to express how she's interpreted by those people, then many times they don't choose the music they really like. They choose something tough or they choose something popular. I don't know if you ever encountered this, but I did.
I can imagine, I think I understand what you mean by that, but then I wonder if that's still somewhere within their own library of choice. They just choose the one that is more posing for that kind of social group.
Yeah, but that's the thing that they are choosing
Yeah,
for the social group. Because if I was asked to play a song, I would think what I like, and I
yeah,
wouldn't really care who likes it there.
yeah,
I would just want to express myself with it
yeah,
and not to build up a certain image about myself or to please people.
yeah. But what I'm trying to get to is I wonder if they actually truly like that music, because that's the thing. I can't imagine that some people would really like listen to music that they don't like, and maybe they manage to like it. They manage to choose certain songs from that social circle's music library that they can align with, and then that's like their connection to that group, if that makes sense. So they enjoy it, they like it, and so on. But yeah, I totally see what you mean, is that a lot of people actually do choose things to be liked and not because they like that thing that they choose. And that's another thing as well. How does that happen? Why do people do that?
I think it depends on the level of maturity and how much you are aligned with yourself and how much you know who you are and you are okay with who you are, because many people aren't and they never gonna get there, unfortunately. But if you reach that level, it really doesn't matter what other people think anymore, and that is true freedom, in
Mm.
my opinion. I had a conversation with a male acquaintance of mine about clothing, because he told me that whenever he sees a woman who is dressing up sexier, he kind of thinks that it's for male attention. And he doesn't really like that. And then I try to explain my side of the story for him, that, for example, here is me. And there are times when I really like to dress up as what we would consider sexy, or, I don't know, bold, so to say. But I don't do that for the male gaze. I do it
Mm-hmm.
because at the moment it feels right for me. I feel confident in it. I feel good in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to highlight for him that his view about this is narrow and he has to kind of see more point of views, because that's not the only thing why
Yeah.
women dress up more boldly.
Yeah. I mean, that's the limited imagination and empathy that most people have, unfortunately, where they cannot imagine that generalizing people is not right. Like, just because you see certain type of behavior or characters, people, it doesn't mean that everyone is like that. And there's nothing we can do. There will be always, for example, gold diggers, but it doesn't mean that every woman is going to go for the man's bank account, So it's just people's limitation, unfortunately. And I don't mean it with bad intention, but that's what it is. Like, they can't imagine, they don't feel. And for some reason, that is touching some kind of insecurity for them that they don't see, because they also don't know themselves. So they feel like they're not good enough. And they're projecting that fear and wound onto women, because why do they want the male attraction, or they feel rejected often because they like this kind of woman, or they were raised in a very conservative, I think that's the word, environment where this kind of look was shamed. And that can really brainwash children's mind, and they just cannot be okay with it. But they don't realize that that secretly is attractive to them because it's men, or I don't know if it's a heterosexual person or not, but
Yeah.
there is some kind of judgment behind that is coming from within his own insecurities that he has not uncovered yet.
Yeah, I think he is kind of self-aware about that, but we are still discussing sometimes topics which for me are interesting, because
Mm.
with some things we agree, with some things we don't, but at least we get to know each other's opinion a bit more, and I see other perspectives too, which is always interesting.
Mm.
It's just, yeah, women clothing or wearing more revealing outfits. Okay, it can be for the male gaze, so we cannot close that out. But many times it's really not about that.
Yeah.
And we cannot just generalize one thing and then trying to put everybody into the same jar based on that. And it's nice to explore these topics because also when we are talking about it, and we are talking about it publicly, it will draw other people in and they will share their opinions as well. And there are so many people with so many opinions, which is important to explore and to listen to because you widen your own range with
Mm-hmm.
that. If you are willing to step outside of your beliefs, because that's important for it.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear something like this, I'm always saying that if I'm dressing up like that, if I'm taking a picture like that, it's not to get validation. It's because I really enjoy and I like it and I want to show it off, but it's not for attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just basic self-expression.
I would like to mention that it is nice. Like, I would like to admit it is nice when you get like a lovely comment. Like, sometimes it would happen that I would go to a date ages ago and I would feel fully myself and I would dress pretty and nice and then nothing bold as what you were using as a word. But then you would get one or two compliments or a nice look. And of course it feels good. That's not what we are trying to say here. But after all, we have to feel good in our own body. Like, it's just one example. I did have times when I kind of let myself down. Usually it's winter time, so guys, avoid me around winter because I'm like a bear hibernate. So, or like after breakups and so on, and just no energy, to do anything, especially like work from home time when I didn't have to share a flat with people and it was just me in my own private place. And at some point I started to notice that, I should put some makeup on, or I should like start to dress nicer, because whenever I would cross the mirror and I looked into the mirror, I did not feel comfortable about how I looked. And even if I didn't leave the flat, it's like we need to be happy about how we look, how we feel in our body. And it changed so much. And that was, I think, the first moment when I realized that I really, really, truly actually want to do everything for myself. Because, yeah, it can be nice, but then external validation is not enough. It's like, if you are not happy about yourself, you have a literally leaking bucket. That is your self-love, and it's always running dry, and other people are trying to filling it up, but it's never gonna be enough because you need to constantly fuel and patch up that bucket into like a lovely container where you are loving yourself. And that's the funny part. I just want to add this one more. Is that this general thinking that women, when they dress more sexy, when they go to nightclub or dancing or whatever, is because of the male gaze. And because of the judgment, I'm still noticing that sometimes I don't dare to dress like that because I'm scared if someone is going to comment on me. For example, last weekend, which wasn't even that daring. And it's like you can't be really yourself, but then, when you are not yourself, then they criticize you for not being sexy. So it's just people need to focus on themselves. That's the main point. Focus on yourself and accept people the way they look.
Yeah, actually, when I first went on a party here in Belgium, I just noticed how revealing the clothing of the people are. Like, women wore really revealing things and men as well. So nobody was really like, ashamed or withheld with how they dressed up. And I was so happy about it. Like, okay, so they go to party where are a lot of people and they don't even have to be scared that they're going to be harassed. And they can just dress up like that. And it's true. Nobody. nobody is harassing anybody at all.
Mm.
Nobody even pays attention. The party culture here, so far what I've noticed, is really different from the Hungarian one. I don't know how is it in the UK, but here you really can feel safe there, no matter how you dress up, and no matter who you are.
Here, British ladies, you should see. I'm trying to act like I do struggle with this because they really don't care. They're gonna wear any kind of dress that they can squeeze themselves into. And I'm reminding myself that they're going out to have fun, but it also like warms me in a sense that they're able to do that. Like British people in general, they're not judgmental about look that way. I'm noticing that they're very accepting and everyone can dress up nicely, beautifully for business presentation and so on, as well as for party. They're gonna wear whatever they want. People wear here so different kind of colorful like cartoon clothings and they can express themselves. So colorful people. I love it so much. What I'm noticing that these comments usually come from certain countries, certain cultures. So it's more Eastern Europe and Eastern people. And I'm not being racist here. It's just my experience, what I notice. And I did not really get any negative comments from British people so far. So in fact, they would encourage you if you dress up nicely. So I think that's lovely. That's amazing thing. So people gotta learn in other areas of this globe.
Yeah, because to be honest, why does it matter who chooses to dress up in what way? What does it matter? Why would it hurt anybody else? Why would it be a problem for anybody else? So yeah, in the British culture, I also noticed it when I started to visit London for the first time that, oh my God, everybody's dressing like how, whatever, like really, they don't care. And they are bold and they are really expressive with the clothing. I'm not saying they are stylish because some of them are horrific, but at least they are wearing whatever they feel comfortable wearing. And that's really nice. I really like that. Here it's a bit more subtle. I think the Belgian style is not really built on boldness, so to say. So I don't really see that anywhere, but I really would love if it was the case all around the place. And yeah, in Eastern Europe, exactly, we grew up there, we know how it is. They're not really accepting.
Yeah.
I really think that the style, and it's not just the clothing, but how you do your hair, how you do your makeup. In case of men, how you style your facial hair. It all adds up to the personality. And they are really important parts of expressing yourself. And you really can tell how certain people are based on just looking at them, or at least you can have a first impression about them. And it's really nice to see how different people can be. And I also love it. And I wanted to say something about what you said earlier that, yeah, when you were at just home and you looked in the mirror and yeah, you just felt like you want to wear makeup because you didn't feel comfortable. It's so interesting because I still see, unfortunately, a lot of comments here and there about makeup that, women shouldn't wear it. You should take them swimming on the first date because ta 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 ta. It's just also part of self-expression. So, okay, it can change your face. I'm not saying that, but if somebody is heavily, if somebody wears heavy makeup, you can tell. And then you cannot really be surprised if they wash it off and they look differently. I think at least I can tell who is wearing heavy makeup, who is wearing light makeup, and what is changed on their face based on that. The closer you go, the easier to tell. But it is what it is. And I'm also wearing makeup as a part of myself, actually. I really love it. I love to do it. It's so relaxing for me to do my makeup when I'm going out, or even sometimes I'm not going out. I'm just staying at home and still I feel like I want to do it because why not? And so many people have the same. But it's, of course, it's also okay if you don't like it at all and you don't really see yourself as somebody who wants to try it. But the main part is just accept each other, because people love to have fun with different type of things.
Yeah. Interesting that you mentioned that you feel so good about wearing your makeup and it's relaxing and so on, and it's like part of you. And I just recently realized something about myself. I shared some part of it with you, I think, and I realized that I have been self-abandoning myself by not putting on makeup, because I have been feeling in a weird place, like certain things are not progressing in my life. And because of that unhappiness, I would kind of protest and I would feel like I'm not in the right place. So why would I make myself pretty for those people around me? And I realized that just added to my own misery, because I have been letting myself down. And one day I decided that I'm going to just put, because I would do like, I haven't been doing proper makeup I've never done. Usually I would use I don't know what it's called. You are wearing it today. It's like
highlighter. What?
It's like a brush, and then you can paint
the
like
eyeliner.
Eyeliner, yeah.
Yeah.
I would do that. I used to use like shades around my eyelid, but lately I've been only using like pencil and mascara and sometimes eyeliner, but I have to re-practice because
do it. I love eyeliner,
yeah.
and it makes such a difference.
Yeah. I just need to like plan my mornings better for that. And
yeah, I know it can go wrong.
Yeah, it's, you know those memes, like you start is perfect and then the other one you are like a raccoon.
Yes, yeah, you have to really practice it to just be able to do it.
I used to be very good at it in high school. It was perfect. And back then, even my wrinkles didn't exist, so nothing was stopping me.
Oh, please.
It's just micro ones. No, I love them. They're cute. It's just they're making it harder. It's challenging. I have to find new ways. That's the thing. So
yeah, I know.
and
my eyelid is also dropping. So
yeah. That's what my like. I have sometimes when I'm well hydrated, my eyelids are quite fattish, and I love them, by the way. But then the result of that with my mom, we would laugh about this all the time, because we would the same, like we painted here with the brush, and then it would stick up here in a line.
Yeah.
So it's funny, but yeah. I haven't been using those in a while, only when I go out, because I feel it's more heavier. Like I'm more simple in that sense with the eye makeup, and it feels totally me. Like I'm happy with that. And strangely, I didn't do it because of that, but I also noticed when I started to go out without makeup or very minimal makeup, I would notice more men having like glances. I'm not looking for that. That's not my goal. But here in England, I'm noticing that less makeup is a bit more desirable in certain circles.
You know what? When I look the worst, I mean, for myself, I get the most attention from men. And when I look all glamorous, they don't even dare to look at me. Yeah. I noticed that too.
Yeah.
I think maybe then you seem more approachable, or
maybe more real. I don't know. But I do like I have to put on something, because sometimes, you just don't rest enough. And then if I'm looking into the mirror, I would like to see something that I like, that makes me feel good about myself, not like the vampire that's crawling out from the cave after 100 years of sleeping or something. And so yeah, that's that. But it's all about us. And it does bother other people because it triggers their own insecurities and not being able to be empathetic and accepting towards it. I used to be very judgmental towards other people, not about makeup, about everything. and it was because I actually never looked into myself. I never actually judged myself. I never looked where I am, who I am, and if what I'm doing is actually the person I would like to be, if that's a nice person who I am. Like, I never did any kind of self-reflection. And I was building this image about myself that, yeah, I know everything, even though I did not know anything. And everyone else is the idiot and so on. This was long ago, like end of teenager years, early 20s. And just very narrow-minded thinking, and lack of empathy, like hating other people just because of their different culture. And that's just because it was never taught to me. That's what I was listening to, judging other people at home. And that was our social time, literally. Like, it's so sad. But then, yeah. But eventually, luckily, a long relationship also, plus peace of mind, because once I moved here in England, I kind of got out of that environment. And I did not do enough reflection because I was still in a toxic relationship, but I did something, and something started to change in me. And also my partner was very judgmental towards other people, not towards himself, or secretly, and he would never... Like, he would probably feel very ashamed about himself, and this is how he would try to protect himself in a way, to judge other people. I don't truly know.
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah, probably that's that.
I've seen that behavior a lot.
Yeah, and I would notice that it feels like every bit of my body is like intention whenever he would like judge other people or say ugly things about them. And I'm like, why do we have to keep judging and say ugly things about people? And it wasn't definitely like empathy towards other people, but it was that feeling. I could feel the aggression, that negativity, that I don't know what came with that in my body. And I just didn't want to feel that. And eventually I started to question, like, why are you doing that? And this very person would never actually like do anything better for themselves or for me either. So that started to also show me that there is something really fundamentally broken in those people, unless they start to reflect and heal that for themselves, to be able to accept, like I started to accept cultures and other people, the way they are, who they are, and so on. So yeah, until they're not gonna look into themselves, they're gonna keep commenting on other people, because that's how they can feel safer, I guess. They have the control of...
most of the time, the people who criticize others the most have the least self-esteem.
Yeah.
And they are very insecure. So
yeah.
But yeah, before, when we also had this environment a lot and we were also part of it, of course, we didn't notice. But now it's very visible.
Yeah.
So would you like to say anything else in the topic, or we wrap up?
I think I would like to add one more thing, is just to highlight again, is why it's so important that people know who they are and that they are able to self-express. Because if we're entering into relationships, workplaces, just life in general, when people don't know who they are, they don't know why they are doing the things they are doing, we get triggered, we are angry, and very often we focus on to surface level things that we think is the cause, because that triggered the event of feeling a certain way. Yeah. And if people don't know where that comes from originally, somewhere deeper, somewhere older, then they're never going to be able to resolve conflicts within a family, within a relationship or a workplace or in life altogether. So, for example, I'm jumping into a new topic entirely, and we're not going to dive into this. It's just like a cliffhanger, is when people blame everything on capitalism when they don't think, like, where did capitalism come from? People made capitalism. Capitalism didn't happen to us. We did it. And it comes from people's insecurities and the rush of chase and wanting more and more. And people are not looking into this problem. And therefore, globally, like on social media, people are blaming everything on capitalism instead of looking every single person into themselves, knowing themselves. And if everyone stopped chasing, capitalism would stop existing. So it came from us, and that's just a much bigger self-expression, and yeah, also communication. How do you self-express yourself within a relationship or with issues? So it's a very complex topic, and I could talk hours on, but I just wanted to add this more. And yeah,
we will for sure make a complete podcast about that, because it's a lot to talk about and to explore that topic, and it's an important one.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks,
Okay,
Niki.
so thank you too. And thanks everybody for listening or watching. Please subscribe if you like our content. And please tell us your opinions in the comment sections too, if you would like to add something, or if you have an opinion or just an experience, you would really like to hear that. And see you next time. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.